So, our next article, we're going to head all the way on the other side of the world and talk about Australia, where this world first teen social media ban that we've been discussing for quite some time has now taken effect. So, I believe that took effect on the 10th, if I remember correctly. So, that's 2 days ago at the time of this recording. And for those who are just joining us, basically, Australia has banned children from under 16 from holding social media accounts. Yeah, I do. So the article we cited here is the Register, but I mean, you can find this being talked about in any number of news outlets. I know it's probably not editorially or great for editorial reasons for them to be injecting their own bias, but I do really appreciate their cynical take on this, which actually does kind of reflect. Experts have been saying this isn't really going to do anything, and the prime minister also said that too. He said from the beginning we've acknowledged this process won't be 100% perfect, but he compares it to underage drinking. He says the fact that teenagers occasionally find a way to have a drink doesn't diminish the value of having a clear national standard. Um, so yeah, I mean, that's kind of the nuts and bolts of the story as far as the actual facts go, is if you're under 16, you can't have a social media account in Australia anymore. I don't think the accounts are getting deleted. Um, I could be wrong about that part. I
Yeah,
don't know
so
if you know.
that's definitely a good question, right? I think it's we should probably like set some work some pre information here. But it's basically it's the way that this ban works is that it will deactivate those accounts and the information will be deleted.
Mm.
So yeah,
Oh,
people
okay.
are losing their accounts. It depends on the platform what
Hmm.
they decide to do in particular. But like we've already seen people that have their account. I mean, the main issue that I've seen with this is that the social media platforms that have asked for people's date of birth, a lot of kids have already lied and said they're like 42. So I mean, it's not coming up and saying, "Oh, you're underage, you can't use this." Like I think that the government is kind of a bit confused about what children do. They don't usually tell the truth. They're gonna get on platforms before they really should. That's just how it works. It's just how children are. So I mean, it's not really a surprise that this isn't working too well, I guess. I think there's at least currently I've seen a couple of articles from like the ABC, that's like the national Australian
Mm.
national like news agency.
Australian Broadcasting Company or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And it's like the state media, I guess. And they've been kind of talking to children and talking to parents and things. And there's quite a lot of instances, at least currently, of people who are under 16 having multiple accounts on the same device. Some of their accounts not being banned, some of them are being banned because the age is correct. So
That's funny.
it's not working that great. I also saw some comments because the way that this law works is they're not allowed to. I believe they're not allowed to actually ask for your ID. They have to use like age assurance techniques. So they're using like facial recognition, age facial recognition, which is like you point the device at your face and it guesses your age, um, which I think is a little bit of a problem, right? Like, what if someone who's like 18 looks younger than they are, and then now their account gets banned? Like, that
Mhm.
doesn't really make that much sense to me. And there's also people who just point their device at other people. So, I mean, I'm not sure that that is really that great at stopping this. Um, the only way that I see it actually being effective is if they introduce some sort of digital ID system or they actually force people to upload their ID documents, like everyone to upload their ID documents. So, um, the thing that I've noticed though is that a lot of people who are adults haven't really had any effect on their accounts yet. So, it seems like
Mhm.
they might be going for the most obvious accounts first, that have put the correct birth date and stuff and disabling those. I think according to the government, they said they shut down like 300,000 children's accounts on Snapchat or something. So it's definitely working for people who are under 16, their accounts where they have put their real date of birth are being disabled. So yeah, I don't think this is we've talked about this a bit, but I think when you restrict children's ability to access information, it becomes a little bit of an issue. It's also kind of confusing which platforms they're banning, like Pinterest and Discord. I don't know about Discord, but I don't know if any of you have been on Discord, but there's a lot of stuff that's bad on there, and I believe even the app on the App Store is rated R18. So it's very confusing. It doesn't make much sense why they're choosing certain apps over others. I think in a lot of cases we'll just see a lot of people flocking to different apps instead, possibly even shadier apps using VPNs to bypass this. And I think in a lot of cases I've seen there's people who use this for like niche interests. They use social media to interact with other people who have niche interests, people who are like, you know, marginalized, like queer people. It's a bit of a problem that we're restricting the access of children to the internet, basically. I do think they have a right to access the internet, and there needs to be better systems to do this, right? Like we already have on device like parental controls. Like Apple has some of the best in the world. You can set that up straight on people's
Mhm.
devices. It limits what people can access. I think when we start like adding blanket bans to platforms, it becomes more of an issue. So I'm not really I think a lot of people are very much not a fan of this in Australia, and I don't think people are going to like Albo very much for too much longer because of this. I don't think it's going to be very good.
Yeah, you really hit the nail on the head with everything. A lot of the stuff you said actually is here in this article. Let's see. Reports have noted a sudden sign up and a spike for apps like Lemonade and Yope that currently aren't covered by the ban. That surge has made prophecy out of warnings that banning social media will just see kids shift to services operated by outfits even less interested in child safety than the likes of Meta and Google. Hard to believe there's companies that care less than Meta about child safety, but apparently there are. Um, they also said that the law I believe said they have to take like quote unquote reasonable measures or something. So basically companies have to figure out on their own how they're going to verify users, which means a lot of them are outsourcing it. Which ironically the article points out here, some have decided to work with age verification companies based outside of Australia. So now you're putting people at risk with companies that aren't even in the country. The article says these companies may request a photo of government ID or a selfie. So I guess some of them may actually require ID, but yeah, some of them may take selfie. And like you said, when I was in college, I sat behind a girl in my English class that I swear looked like 20, 19, 20, 21. And she was like 42 or something like that. And she just looked amazing. And I'm sure when she was 20, she probably looked like she was 16. So, this like determining a person's age isn't always accurate just based off the photo alone. And then yeah, again, like you said, some people are using makeup, masks, lying about their ages. I know in the UK with their Online Safety Act, we saw people uploading video game characters, all kinds of crazy stuff, VPNs, like you said. So yeah, this is very symbolic, I think. And actually, on that note, we did include in the show notes. EFF has launched an age verification hub as a resource against misguided laws. So I think this is a good time to mention that real quick. So the EFF has launched this website. First of all, they're doing an AMA, I believe next week. Yeah, December 17th at 5 p.m. Pacific time. And then or excuse me, 12 p.m. through 5 p.m. Pacific time, with EFF attorneys, technologists, and activists answering questions about age verification. This is going on for 3 days, December 15th through 17th. So you'll have plenty of time to ask your questions. And if you're not a Reddit user or you're unable to make that for any reason, in January, they're going to have a live stream panel discussion. That's January 15th from 12 p.m. Pacific time again. So there's that worth checking out. But they also have an actual hub, EFF.org/age. And this is a really, really simple hub, but it has over on the left side, it says like why join the fight, and it tells you, what's at stake, who is harmed, is this legal, does the tech even work? Which, we were just spent all this time talking about, usually not, and it usually backfires a lot. And yeah, it's I actually like, where did it go? In the original article where they talked about this new hub, EFF, they had a really good line. It says, quote, "We all want young people to be safe online. However, age verification is not the panacea that regulators and corporations claim it to be. In fact, it could undermine the safety of many." So, yeah, it's like you were saying, we've talked about this quite a lot, and it's one of those things where politicians want easy, simple solutions. Everybody does. It's human nature. We want a good guy and a bad guy, and we want very clean, simple, um, all good or all bad. Like it makes for a good movie, but in reality, people don't really like it when there's kind of a gray area and like, oh, this person has redeeming qualities. And so like politicians just want an easy answer that they can point to and say, I did a thing, I made everybody safe, vote for me again next year. And unfortunately, this is not one of those issues that you can just easily do that with. Even I've mentioned in the past, like going after the companies and making social media, like Facebook themselves has pumped out so many studies that say this is bad for mental health just across the board, not even for kids. Doom scrolling. I know I'm kind of rambling or getting on a soapbox a little bit here, but like doom scrolling has become a common term in today's day and age. And honestly, that kind of blows my mind that we all just accepted that as a term. But like that's how bad it is. And I don't that's not limited to kids. We all know what doom scrolling is, even if you don't know it by name. If somebody describes it to you, it's like, oh yeah, I do that sometimes. So like it's crazy that we will do anything other than crack down on these companies and be like, stop intentionally putting people at risk. And it just there's so many arguments against this. It makes kids unprepared for how to deal with this stuff once they turn old enough to start using social media. And I've mentioned before, I think it takes away from the parents' right to like decide when is right for their kids to join. And it's just, yeah, I don't know. It's at best, it's well-meaning, and I say at best because I know there's a lot of people who don't believe that, and I don't blame you for not believing that. I'm not saying I believe it entirely, but at best, this is well-meaning, but it's an oversimplified. Um, let's somebody I forget who it was. It may have been EFF. Somebody said it's like taking a machete where you need a scalpel.